TamaTown was a simplistic companion website for the line of Tamagotchis in the early 2000s. Tamagotchi Connection, which offered versions 3, 4, and 4.5, was a Tamagotchi toy that offered 52 total characters and a password concept that could be used on the TamaTown web game. TamaTown was an interactive website for the Tamagotchi Connection devices, and it was an extension to the virtual pets that allowed players to connect to the site and earn prizes for their Tamagotchi, and you could bring back a total of 10 items to your device after every visit. When I go into making these videos, I try to get the product, but as you can see on eBay, oh my god, the price per one device, an open box item, is insane. Thankfully, I already own a ton of these things because this video will come naturally, as you'll find, as like many of you guys, I enjoyed Tamagotchi and TamaTown. I can't really say for that anymore, but what this video aims to do is to comprise the overall information that is out there already for TamaTown. TamaTown can fall into the category of lost media just because of the amount of information that isn't out there on it anymore. And back then, nobody was trying to record this to put it up on YouTube or to preserve it like a lot of us try to do nowadays. The website game was unique in the sense that you needed to have a Tamagotchi Connection device to get into the website. And I would presume since the devices were pre-internet era, the codes were already predetermined, and the values and the options would just spit out the appropriate exit codes for your character and item combination that you were bringing back to your device. Since codes couldn't take up too much space, it was most likely that the hundred thousands of possible combinations were stored on the Tamagotchi. Please understand that this is all an assumption since I'm not a technologist or coder. And the wiki makes mention of each item having a unique numerical code, which was 10 digits long, and the player would need to enter these passwords into the handheld device through the password function for the items to appear on their Tamagotchi device. Because of the shutdown and the nature of how these items were attained online, souvenirs had become part of this lost media. Having heavily relied on the password method, it is also unknown when a community modder will create a program capable of producing the same codes. This video will focus on the original TamaTown and not the successors like version 5's TamaTown, because the original TamaTown resonates with a ton of us, being one of the first internet ventures into PC gaming. Like mentioned before, TamaTown offered content for versions 3, 4.5, and 4. Most modes for the versions 4 and up relate to all character development. Before diving super deep into the content, I want to preface that the knowledge provided was researched to the best of my ability. I may have left out a ton of information on the game found on the Japanese websites, as this is aimed to be more for an international release of the game. So all three versions of the game, players could access the school, arcade, mall, TamaTown, town hall, food court, travel center, parents and grandparents. The school was the interactive skill point learning zone where you could pick teachers and learn a skill until they graduated. To earn points, the Tamagotchi must play a minigame where the teacher will hide the point in the present box and shuffle them around, with the two other presents being poop. Skill points are points earned throughout the Tamagotchi's life through playing games, using points, eating certain foods, attending school. Carry mistakes may also make you lose skill points, where skill points the Tamagotchis had would also determine the adult evolution it became. The arcade was where you would play games and win items and gain gotchi points. If you're a Tamagotchi person, you already know what gotchi points are, but it's just the currency in the game. And games in the game center included Grand Prix, darts, Tama football, claw, and ring toss. The mall was a shopping center which had 3 stores, and various items could be attained. Forever Tamagotchi was a clothing shop, Lucky Tama Toys was a shop for toys, and the Tama Beat was a shop for instruments. A notable thing about the shop was that you could buy a CD player or boombox and it would play songs on your Tamagotchi. Some of these songs would include classical music from Beethoven and Mozart. TamaTown was a theater displaying short Tamagotchi flash animations. These animations were simplistic in story and doesn't seem to reference anything that I know of to my knowledge. Town Hall didn't really have a ton going for it, and it was just a place that you could get souvenirs from. Food court had a collection of shops where players could buy food and help out the pizzeria or burger shop. I couldn't find any information or videos on the burger game, but I remember it primarily being like Sky Burger, where you build these tall burgers. Pizzeria minigame, you built pizzas based on what the screen prompted you to create. There's this Food Court Frenzy minigame found on a CD-ROM, and I can't tell if it's related to the burger minigame that I just mentioned. I think the burger game is just this Mandela effect on me, and the Frenzy minigame was actually what I was trying to mention. Travel Center was just another site for Tamagotchis to visit various places on Earth, and when they come back, they would give you a souvenir that you could transfer to your Tamagotchi. Parents were a place that would give you free rewards for your Tamagotchis, and you would have to have had at least 2 generations of Tamagotchis before you could use that function. So you would have to, I believe, reincarnate your Tamagotchi at least 2 times to have parents. That way you could get those rewards. And same thing with the grandparents. You would just have to have 3 generations of Tamagotchis before you could access the grandparents' items. The 4 and 4.5 exclusives, again, all have to pertain to character development and skill points. So they had a preschool, which would be only used for pre-evolution characters in the game. There was a puzzle game, and players could also collect 2 souvenirs there, which was the picture book and the organ. The office was a place where Tamagotchis go to work, and if the player's Tamagotchi is an adult and has a job, they can visit the office. The local bank of TamaTown, there was a mini game where players served the Tamagotchis that visited the bank and gave them money bags what they asked for, and the chocolate bar could also be found there to purchase. The hospital was also a TamaTown site where the Tamagotchis could go and work. Pretty much repeating myself again. The post office, another place where people could go, but they had a mini game that you could give postage stamps to Tamagotchis. This I don't really remember too much, but there was a station that could take you to 3 other locations, one being the Mame city, which is Mamechi's hometown, and there's notable areas like the hardware shop where you could buy various tools and supplies there, the intellectual workshop where it was a work area specifically for Tamagotchis who have jobs requiring intellectual skill points, Guruguru Town, which I guess is another Mamechi's hometown. I don't know if that was an error on the wiki. It has notable sites like the convenience store where you can find food and snacks, artistic work building where Tamagotchis that required artistic skill points could go, and the last place was the Patchi Forest, which is Patchi's hometown. Notable areas in this place include the gym, which is a place where Tamagotchis could go to train and work out, and the social work building is a work area specifically for Tamagotchis who have jobs requiring social skill points. Now the shutdown on February 6, 2013 shut down the servers for good, and the features were no longer in support for the devices that used the Tamagotchi Connection brand. Several community collaboration efforts have been in progress since the shutdown, attempting to rebuild TamaTown with archived copies of the site's SWF files. If you type in tamatown.com today, Bandai failed to renew the domain, leading to the URL to be put up for sale, and the domain was purchased by fans and relaunched as a fan site on March 26, 2019. The new site hosts Tamagotchi news, news leaks, guides, frequently asked questions, downloads, and links to other Tamagotchi groups and other websites. No one thought to preserve this game back in the early 2000s, and because of that, there are very few videos out there on the game specifically, which is why I strongly recommend sharing your experiences in the comment section below. Bandai Namco could offer the greatest PR stunt for vintage content by just selling premium bundled programs that users can download that runs all the content that was found on the website. This works because the content worked like an offline game with the illusion of the codes needing to be connected to the internet. Newer versions of the Tamagotchi experience have been released like Tamagotchi Forever, but it just doesn't share the same experience that older proprietary devices held. And what made the connection devices so great was what they could accomplish during the era in which online was still very primitive. I miss TamaTown, and it would get me to play my old Tamagotchis if it was remade. But for me and many others, the Tamagotchis are nothing but a good memory in our childhoods, and that's okay. I'm looking at these devices on my table, and I don't have a sudden urge to play any, but I do for TamaTown. If you guys like content like this, talking about nostalgic things, be sure to subscribe and check out this playlist for more nostalgic content. Leave a comment down below talking about your Tamagotchi TamaTown experiences. Making this video is very hard because of the amount of content and information that's not really available. Let's try to piece it together, everybody, and try to figure out what's missing. And until then, thanks for watching, and have yourself a good one.